right, let's get right into it. For decades, everyone has known Warren Buffett as the architect of Berkshire Hathaway. But who helped drop the blueprints? Well, today we're talking about Charlie Munger, the brilliant, sharp-witted, and, let's be honest, often overlooked partner who helped build an absolute empire. I mean, think about that for a second. When the most successful investor in modern history says someone expanded his horizons, you just have to stop and listen. This wasn't just a business partnership, it was a partnership of minds. See, Buffett was already a genius investor, but it was Munger who pushed him to think even bigger. He's the one who shifted Buffett's entire focus from buying fair companies at great prices to the game-changing idea of buying great companies at fair prices. And Munger's impact went way beyond just Buffett. Take the incredible story of investor Lai Lu. Here's a guy who starts his own firm, inspired by Munger's ideas, but he nearly goes under, losing 19% in his very first year. Ouch. But years later, at his lowest point, a single conversation with Munger changes everything. Munger saw something in him, invested, and became his mentor. It's just a perfect real-world example of the life-altering power of Munger's way of thinking. So the big question is, where did this powerful wisdom actually come from? Well, you can be sure it wasn't learned in some Ivy League classroom. No, it was earned. It was forged in the fire of some pretty profound hardships. His education in reality kicked off early. As a teenager during the Great Depression, he worked at a grocery store, a store owned by Warren Buffett's grandfather of all people. And we're talking grueling 12-hour shifts, no breaks, for just $2 a day. You know, that kind of experience builds a work ethic and a sense of realism that no textbook on earth could ever teach you. And then, life dealt him an absolutely unbearable hand. At just 29 years old, he was hit by a double catastrophe, a really difficult divorce, and then the devastating news that his 9-year-old son, Teddy, had terminal leukemia. And this was back in an era with no real treatments, no hope. Friends would remember seeing him just walking the streets, crying, after visiting his son in the hospital. But how he responded to that unimaginable pain is really what defined the man he became. He developed this core principle. Your job isn't to drown in self-pity. Your job is to take a terrible blow and find a way to use it fruitfully, to learn from it, to build strength from the absolute wreckage. His resilience wasn't some accident, it was a conscious choice. So out of all these experiences, Munger built this unique mental toolkit. You can think of it like an operating system for his brain, designed for making better decisions, not just in business, but in, well, everything. One of his most famous tools is called inversion. It's simple, but it's brilliant. Just think backwards. So instead of asking, how do I make my business succeed, you ask, what would absolutely guarantee its failure? You figure out all the things that would cause it to crash and burn, and then you just avoid them at all costs. It's about spotting the potholes instead of trying to perfectly map out the road ahead. And this connects right into his other huge idea, the latticework of mental models. Munger was convinced you just can't understand the world through a single lens. You have to learn the big, enduring ideas from all the major fields, psychology, physics, history, biology, you name it, and then weave them all together in your mind like a latticework. So how in the world do you build this latticework? His answer was simple, and it was totally non-negotiable. You read all the time. He flat out said he'd never met a wise person who didn't. And believe me, he wasn't kidding when he called himself a book with legs. For him, that was just reality. And this is the difference in a nutshell. You know that old saying, to a man with only a hammer, every problem looks like a nail? That's the specialist. The Munger method, on the other hand, gives you a full toolkit. That way, you can see the true shape of the problem, not just the part that happens to fit your one favorite tool. And here's what's so important to get. These powerful mental tools, they weren't just for making money. Munger applied this same rigorous, principle-based thinking to the business of living a good, decent, and virtuous life. So his son tells this really simple story. The family was on vacation, and they were using a friend's car. Before they gave it back, Munger drove out of their way to find a gas station. His son was kind of confused. The tank was already half full. And Munger just said, Charlie, when you borrow someone's car, you return it with a full tank of gas. See, the lesson had nothing to do with the gas. It was about integrity. It's a simple rule. Always try to leave things a little better than you found them. Those are the small acts of respect that really hold friendships and trust together. And his principles totally shaped how he handled his own wealth. I mean, here's a billionaire who, when traveling alone for business, would often fly commercial. sitting in economy. It wasn't about saving money, not at all. It was about the mindset.
And the reason why tells you everything. He didn't want his wealth to put him in a bubble. He wanted to stay connected to the real world, to see a young kid studying calculus on the plane next to him. It was a very conscious choice to engage with life, not be insulated from it.
So, if you boil it all down, his advice for a truly rich life, and I mean that in every sense of the word, pretty much rests on these 3 pillars. Number 1, be reliable. He said unreliability just cancels out everything else. Number 2, keep learning every single day. And number 3, avoid envy like the plague. He called it the most foolish sin because it's the only one you can't have any fun at. It just makes you miserable.
And all of this wisdom, all these lessons, they kind of culminate in one final, powerful challenge that he left for all of us.
He was once asked a really simple, universal question that gets right to the heart of what so many of us want. How do you find a good spouse? How do you find a great partner in life? And his answer, it just distills his entire philosophy down to a single, powerful idea. The best way is to deserve one. You don't just go out and find a great life or a great career or a great partner. You work on yourself. You become the kind of person who deserves one. Because, as he pointed out, a truly excellent person is no fool. Munger often closed his talks with this great line from a classic book. "My sword I leave to him who can wield it." It's such a powerful final thought, isn't it? The wisdom, the tools, this mental sword, it's all been laid out for us. He passed on the knowledge. The real question he leaves behind is, can we build the character and the discipline to actually wield it?